You said something there, Mike, that I think is really important to key in on. The only infallible interpreter of the Scripture is the Scripture itself. And so one of the things that we actually can do is when we look at the Bible is, one of the neat things that we see is oftentimes the Bible is giving us the interpretation. I mean, you think about how the New Testament talks about the Old Testament, for example, and that's where we say, look, that's what this passage meant.
Yeah.
Let's understand this text like the apostles did and like
Yeah.
Jesus did. And so, but we, in our interpretations, are fallible. Mike, what do you say, though, to someone who says, well, then I guess the Scriptures aren't clear? I mean, if we don't
Yes,
really,
right. They are not equally clear in all places. We just have to say that, and we do in our confession.
Yeah.
Not everything is equally clear or equally plain. But as John says in John 20, verse 31, but these things are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name. That's what is absolutely clear. You can read from Genesis to Revelation and recognize the plot line. It's a very clear plot line. Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and by believing in him, we have life in his name. That's the Cliff's Notes,
Yeah.
theme of the Bible. And when you go to particular passages with that in mind, it really helps. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to understand every passage clearly, or that there aren't. One of the reasons why there are divisions between church bodies is because we're sinners. But also part of it is because some passages in Scripture are not as clear as other passages in Scripture, and people build their whole theology on passages that are not as clear. So then what do? We just ignore those? No, we don't. We interpret the less clear passages in the light of the clearer passages.